This is McFly Angler.
And it starts now.
We will need a curved shank scud or caddis hook and a brass or tungsten bead. Today I will be using Risen's 2457 hook in size 12 and their black nickel 3.25mm size tungsten bead. The easiest way to put the bead on the hook is to leave the bead in your hand and bring the hook point to it. Place the bead and hook securely in your vise. For thread, I really like this Viva 6/0 in light olive. Start your thread directly behind the bead and then snip or break off the thread. Then form a bit of a thread bump behind the bead to help stabilize it. See, the bead will not move now. To make the next steps easier, I like to angle the hook down a bit. For the tail, this requires 2 to 3 peacock hurls. For this size fly, I'm using 3. Place the hurls together and then snip off the fragile tips. Tie these in directly on top of the hook with the tips extending to just shy of the bead. Make 3 to 4 tight wraps to secure it. Now we need some clear mono or fluorocarbon. I always have a few old spools lying around that I use for this type of application. Snip off a fair amount of line to give yourself some room to work with, and this amount should tie about a dozen or so of these flies. Tie this in on the side of the hook with 3 to 4 tight wraps as well. And now for some crystal flash and pearl. And one strand should tie about a half dozen of these flies. Tie this in on the side of the hook as well. Note that the flash and mono extend up to about the same as the peacock hurl, and this will ensure a smooth, tapered body. Anyway, tie down all 3 sets of materials deep into the bend of the hook, and then come back all the way up to the bead with touching wraps, ensuring to keep the body as smooth as possible. Now we need some dubbing. Rabbit dubbing is what you will want. You could use any color here, but the original was tied with this light olive color. Caddis, however, do come in tan and darker olive colors as well, so use what you find works best for your local waters. Anyway, I'm using the light olive today. Pull out a fair amount of this dubbing, as we will want a fairly thick and tapered body, but separate it into smaller pieces to start the dubbing noodle. Okay, let's dub a thin noodle onto our thread to start, and then as you go down the noodle, you can add more and more of the dubbing to make this fairly tapered. Let's start wrapping up the hook shank, ensuring to get an even and tapered abdomen on this fly. You want this dubbed on fairly tight, but having a few guard hairs sticking out isn't a bad thing either, as these caddis tend to be a bit hairy looking. Add more dubbing if you have to, but end with a very small space behind the bead. Now start wrapping the flash to create a rib on this fly. You will want each wrap separated fairly wide from the previous. Maybe a total of 5 wraps up the hook shank for this size fly will work. Capture the flash when you reach the bead and trim off the waist. Now we need some 1/8 inch scud back. The original was tied in summer duck color, which I highly recommend. However, you can experiment with other colors as well. Anyway, a piece about this long should tie a half dozen to 10 or so of these flies. Tie this in directly on top of the hook shank. Now I like to start making a half turn with the mono. Then pull the scud back rearward tight to stretch it before wrapping over the scud back with the mono, ensuring that the mono follows the path of the flash. Now the scud back will want to rotate slightly, so make sure you position it properly on the hook where you want it. Ensure that the tail section isn't angling weird and the top is directly on top as well. Then proceed to make tight wraps up the hook shank following the crystal flash wraps. When you reach the bead, then capture the mono. Now mono is very slippery, so I like making a wrap over it, then in front, and then over it again, and in front again, which should help to lock it in tight. Then cut off the waist mono. Now it's a good time to cut off the scud back. You can make a flat cut like so. However, I like making a sort of triangle on the back, which I feel looks better, but it's up to you. Either way, leave a small tag on the back. Also cut the tail to your desired length. Personally, I feel I cut this a little too long. I like the tails a bit shorter. Now put a collar on the fly. Peacock dubbing is the ticket here. Today I'm using Diamond Bright in peacock color. Make a fairly tight and thin noodle on your thread. And then start wrapping the collar to hide thread wraps and waist ends of the material. Once you're happy with the collar, then whip finish directly behind the bead and seat the knot tight. This should seat up under the bead if done properly and help keep it hidden under the collar. For added security, let's cement the fly. I love this Solarez Ultra Thin. Just paint some on the whip finish and then cure it with your UV light. And there we have it, the fly is now finished. This fly was created by Lance Egan to imitate caddis larvae. He says the contrasting color back with the green underbody doesn't necessarily imitate the caddis. However, he found it does seem to make the fish strike more. I personally would have to agree with him, as this color combo has worked really well for me. However, get creative and try a few different colors for yourself if you want. Let me know in the comment section if you have tried this fly pattern before and how it worked for you. As you all know, I have gotten you all discounts from both www.risenfly.com and www.dooliesflyfishing.com. Doolies offers great prices on all of the name brand fly tying materials, and Risen Fly manufactures their own hooks, rods, reels, and other gear for fly fishing. Their products are top quality, and best of all, they are priced very reasonably. Not only are the prices at these two shops great, but like I said, they are offering all of my subscribers a discount. So use McFly at checkout when ordering from either of these shops, and you will get an additional 15% off of their already great prices. I want to also thank all of my Patreons who support me. For as little as $1 a month, you can help support this channel and also get some great perks like early access to my videos, participate in live streams, and more. So go to www.patreon.com/McFly Angler to sign up today. I also thank all of you who share all my videos with your friends and your continued support by hitting the like buttons and subscribing. Thank you for making these videos possible. I will see you on the next video. Now you go catch some fish. You know, by the way, I didn't like the length of the tail here, so here I am trimming it a little shorter. I would say this is about the length that I personally like.